What is up, everybody? My name is Free, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Redstone Craft. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here in the Nether Hub, but we're obviously not going to be working the Nether. Holy crap, that looks cool. Oh wow, so it has like all the symbols, etc. That looks really cool. Anyway, today we're back here in the Nether Hub, but of course, crying obsidian changed texture. It also looks really cool. Okay. I swear I'm done, I promise. Let's go up to the roof. So, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be working on a brand new farm. Now, what farm are we going to be doing? You probably already guessed by the title. We are going to be making a Ghast Farm. Now, this Ghast Farm design is by El Mango, so we're going to be following his guidance here. But before we even get to that, we first need to find a good spot to actually make the farm. And for that, I've been scouting, and there's actually a spot quite a bit this way. Because the farm is really big perimeter-wise, which means you gotta find a pretty big soul sand valley. You also need to somehow get on top of the roof, which for us isn't a big deal because we have an opening. But in case you don't know how to do that, you can go back a couple of videos. We came to the nether roof to get that done, so yeah. But yeah, now I'm going to travel all the way there, and I will see you once we're there and explain the rest of the farm. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we finally got here. This is going to be the spot where we're going to build our Ghast Farm, and the reason for that is we are on a pretty big soul sand valley. You can see I'm flying around, and I'm actually running really low on rockets. But everything around this part is a soul sand valley, so we're pretty good there. Now, this farm is actually 57 in diameter. It's also a circular farm, which is something we don't often work with here. But yeah, let's get this party rolling. Let's pop in the creative world and pop in the time lapse and see how we do, shall we? So here we are in El Mango's test world. I actually had to turn off sound because it was absolutely destroying me. But you can see here, it's a huge sphere. It's sort of hypnotic with the sea lanterns. So how does this farm work? Well, ghasters spawn and they die. But there's a few things that we need to talk about first. First of all, let's understand what actually spawns in a soul sand biome. So, the two mobs that spawn in soul sand valleys in this version are the Endermen, the skeletons and the ghast. There used to be Endermen, I haven't seen any, so I apologize for that confusion. And in the pre-releases of 1.16, they actually spawned a lot, and I mean a lot. They no longer spawn that much, but they still do quite a good amount of spawns, especially ghasts. Because if you're going to be making a farm for skeletons here, you're probably going to be disappointed. The drops are not going to be enough for you to actually profit in a way that makes sense of the effort. You'd be better just making a skeleton farm in the overworld. But for ghasts, this is a great idea, because previously in Minecraft you couldn't farm only ghasts. You could farm ghasts and other stuff, but not just ghasts. So how do you do it here? Well, you put a light source on top of it. That's why there's so many sea lanterns. Skeletons aren't born with light sources. You can see ghasts are being born and dying. So let's get into the farm itself. It uses two mechanics. First, the fact that items dropped on top of soul sand will make their way into hoppers. Example, there you go. So the farm is a soul sand base, 57 in radius, 115 in diameter if you count the center block. And then below it you have a bunch of hoppers. Now all these hoppers are pointed to those walls over there, and that's because of the carpet mod that was used to test this farm. I actually don't have it installed, but nonetheless. Now inside the farm, how does this work? Well, you have your circle. Your circle is barriered off with glass in this case. It's good that it's an transparent block so mobs aren't spawned on those. So we are also actually going to be using glass. And then in here you have rows of wither roses. Now, you have a row every 3 blocks. Why? Because unlike in past versions of Minecraft where mobs were simply spawned on the wither roses, in this version they can't. Which means that you actually need to give ghasts space to spawn outside the wither roses and then kill them with it. So giving them 3 blocks will actually allow them to spawn on one of these 3, and then they will die because they're actually a little bit over like 4 blocks in width. Actually, I think they're exactly 4 blocks. So no matter where they spawn, they're going to be hit by one of these roses and die. And then the drops are collected below them with the hoppers. Now, for specifics, inside the farm, besides the 3 blocks of distance between each wither rose, and by the way, if you want to compare it, you can start it actually 3 blocks away from the wall. If you're doing this size, you can reduce the size of the farm or increase it, whichever one you want. But inside, you must leave 4 blocks of height for the ghasts to be able to spawn. Every single spot must be skeleton proof, so it must be lit up, hence so many sea lanterns. You probably don't need this many, but you know, it's good to do it. You also probably don't need these many wither roses. So if you wanted to, you could technically break wither roses and just keep a grid like that. Now, of course, we have a bunch of wither roses, so we're not going to do that. But if you really want to, you can, and you can just make it like a checkerboard pattern and just keep it that way. But, you know, now the other important thing is, as usual, spawn proofing. So we're on top of the nether, and for those who don't know, the top of the nether is always at Y128, always. And the farm itself is going to be at 136 or 135,875 if you're standing on soul sand. So keep that in mind. Below it, you have the hoppers. I advise pointing them all to one direction and maybe getting vanilla tweaks texture packs to make sure they are all pointed, because this can be a little confusing. They're actually all going into these middle rows. I don't know why too, because this is like, it's not an even center, it's an odd center, but whatever. Then 4 blocks in another row of sea lanterns. Now, if you want to, we're not going to be doing this, but if you want to, you can actually expand this farm upwards by, in order, getting some hoppers, okay. So if you really want to, you can put hoppers here, soul sand here, and then 4 up, and sea lanterns right there. And you can have as many of these as you want. Now, it's going to get to a point where the outcome, like the expenses aren't going to be worth the increase in spawns, but if you really want it, you can. Now, from what I gather from Ilmango's video, which is linked down in the description below, this farm produces about 4,000 gas tiers per hour, as well as a couple thousand gunpowder, which is amazing, but you might be wondering, why the hell do you need that many gas tiers? Well, gas tiers are only really useful for 2 things in this game. Brewing potions, which we are going to be using them for, not at this scale of course, but nonetheless. And outside of brewing potions, they're used to make ender crystals, which is actually useful to respawn the ender dragon, and to be honest is one of the main reasons why I want to farm for this, because we're going to be working with the ender dragon later on in the season. Now, special advice for the farm. First, if you're going to do multiple levels, and Ilmango actually mentioned this, maybe don't use hoppers, because this can get really laggy. It's a lot of hoppers. So if you're really thinking about doing multiple levels, use hopper minecarts. It's going to be easier. And you also no longer have to use soul sand. You can use another block if you wish, because I'm pretty sure ghasts aren't born just on soul sand. They're born on any full block. So if I get, I don't know, some stone and put it here, ghasts could be born there. So yeah, piece of advice in that. Then piece of advice is in building the farm. Start with the top level, the lanterns, then do the hoppers, and then do the soul sand. Why? For several reasons. First, the lanterns give you a good size check of the farm, and they also light everything up, so no matter what blocks you have below, you're not going to have skeletons spawning, which is great. Also, nothing spawns on lanterns. Then the hoppers, because it's the bottom, and you usually build things from the bottom up in Minecraft, it's just easier. And also, nothing spawns on hoppers, or at least for me, nothing spawned on hoppers while I was building this one. Finally, put on the glass around to make sure nothing leaves the farm, and only then put on the soul sand. And from the moment you put the soul sand on, you need to pay attention to ghasts, because they are going to start spawning and it is going to get annoying. So I highly advise you to, once you finish the soul sand, be really quick to place the wither rows. Because once they start dying, it doesn't really matter anymore, but until you have a way to kill them, they're going to annoy you, they're going to blow stuff up. It really isn't that pleasant, and I'm talking from personal experience because I have already built the farm when I'm recording this clip. So yeah, those are my pieces of advice for building this farm. That's the how-to, and the final detail I want to show you is the AFK height. So if you follow those heights, you're going to be able to AFK up there. Let me actually get there. Okay, right up here. So you're AFKing at Y251. This means that you're not going to be loading much more than what is loaded by the farm, so you don't actually have to spawn proof basically anything below the nether. Now if you want to, you can, of course, and in my case I will be spawn proofing something because I want to make sure all the efficiency is here, but the beauty of it being a single level farm and being as simple as it is that you can build it pretty close to the nether roof and not actually have to spawn proof anything. But yeah, that's about it for the explanation for this farm. Once again, if you want a detailed explanation on other stuff, or if you want to see a skeleton only farm, I will link Ilmango's video where he goes over this. But yeah, let's pop back into Redstone Craft and see this thing in action, shall we? Okay guys, so we're back, and sadly the replay mod seems to not have worked there. I believe it's because I was messing about with having both it and Optifine installed, and it just decided that it didn't like that. But yeah, anyway, the farm's done, and you can see there are a lot of gas. In fact, I already have almost a stack of gas here just from hanging around here while I was building this, and I didn't even kill any gas, so they all died normally. And if we look at these 4 hoppers, you can see they all have some stuff in them. Now, the farm is complete. I put a blackstone border and blackstone slabs on top because I had a lot of blackstone. And I also got the AFK spot up here, which, if you guys watch the clip, is at Y251. So that's pretty cool. Sadly, you can't really see inside the farm from up there, but you can see ghasts are spawning and dying. So yeah, now, as usual, we're only missing one thing, which is a sorter system. And in this case, I decided, screw it, I'm going to build a sorter system on camera so you guys can see what a sorter system actually looks like nowadays. So I got a bunch of stuff here. And no, that's the wrong place I want to put things. Okay. We got the blackstone, so I can use this as scaffolding. Oh, sorry. Drop the hopper there. Okay. 1, 2, and then 1. Goddamn the scaffolding. 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. And that one is just gonna go down, and all these come towards the side. And I'm actually not gonna connect it. But yeah, this farm only really drops 2 items, as you guys know if you watch the clip of me explaining the farm. It drops gunpowder and Jesus, I'm blanking. Gas tiers. What was that? I literally just completely blanked. Yeah, it drops gunpowder and gas tiers, so it's a pretty good farm for those things, but it won't actually drop anything else, so there isn't much science behind the sorter. It's a 2-item sorter system. So I'm gonna get this done. There's no point in you guys watching me build a sorter system, so give me just a second. Okay guys, so it's done. The farm is complete. We now have a storage system. It's nothing special. It has actually, I should access it over here. It has 2 sides for each thing, and it has a leftover in case anything else happens, just so it's not stuck in the system, you know? Or, you know, overflow if this does actually overflow. Although if this overflows with gunpowder, that's not a lot. But if this overflows with gas tiers, I'm gonna be amazed, like legit amazed. But anyway, point of order here. The farm is complete. It looks like a big slab of blackstone, as it was to be expected, but it is functional. Now all that is left is AFKing here for a few hours today and see how many gas tiers this actually gives us. But sadly, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I've got time for today. I know it was a really short episode. I know it sucked that we didn't have a time lapse, and I apologize for that noise. But sadly, it was out of my control. I've learned my lesson, and I'm not going to do it again. Man, the farm is pretty easy to build, and I think I went over it pretty well during the tutorial part of the episode. And once again, if you guys do want to see Mango's video, it is linked down in the description below. As always, bam. Sadly though, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I've got time for today, folks. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. That's it for today, folks. I'm out. Peace.